This submission explores Ray Kurzweil's predictions regarding exponential AI growth, the timeline for artificial general intelligence by 2029, and the controversial concept of biological longevity escape velocity by 2032.
Right, and the source material here is incredibly rich.
It really is. I mean, synthesizing visionary tech forecasting with these deep existential questions, it's a lot.
Yeah, and because the submitted material is already highly sophisticated, and, the author is clearly deeply knowledgeable about the nuances of AGI, exponential computing, and nanorobotics, we're going to bypass the basic explanations today.
Exactly. The tone for this critique is going to be rigorous. We want to be analytical and really focus on pressure testing the most ambitious claims here to make this a truly bulletproof piece of work.
So let's just dive right into it.
Yeah, let's do it. The material effectively captures the awe of AI's current trajectory, but allows anecdotal wonder to overshadow analytical rigor.
That is such a crucial point. The weakness here is that the submission heavily features these spectacular, isolated anecdotes, right?
Like the AI agent Bartok, right?
The one autonomously trading real money.
Exactly. Bartok trading money and buying a physical robot dog. Or the other example, the 11-year-old making entire movies with advanced AI.
Which is wild, yeah.
It is, but the text presents these without questioning the underlying mechanics. There's no exploration of the programming constraints or, the literal autonomy of these systems.
Right.
And accepting these stories at face value without that critical lens, it makes the argument feel more like a fan tribute to exponential thinking. Yeah, rather than a robust, objective analysis of AI capabilities.
Exactly. So the suggestion for improvement here is to ground these anecdotes by deliberately contrasting them with the technical limitations, the infrastructural realities, or the underlying architectures that actually make them possible.
It's kind of like enjoying the magician's trick versus examining the trapdoor.
I love that analogy, yeah.
Because if you focus solely on the final output, the purchased robot dog showing up at your door, doesn't that distract the audience from understanding the actual mechanics of modern AI agents?
It completely distracts them. I mean, let's look at a concrete example for the author to use. When discussing the agent Bartok, generating digital currency to buy an NFT or a robot dog, you need to integrate a brief analysis of how large action models actually operate.
Right. They operate within predefined APIs.
Yes, predefined APIs and very specific reward functions. Rather than implying spontaneous consciousness, explore the human guardrails that allow or fail to govern such actions.
I mean, if I sit at a restaurant and point at a menu and 10 minutes later a gourmet meal appears, I didn't cook the food, right?
No, you just utilized a predefined system.
Exactly. The AI didn't want a robot dog. It executed a script across deterministic pathways that human engineers built.
And another concrete example of this is the hardware side. The author claims that quantum computing is totally unnecessary for AGI.
Which is a huge claim to make.
It's massive. And to fix this, they need to juxtapose that claim with counter perspectives from the broader AI hardware community.
Right, because you can't just extrapolate the 75,000 trillion-fold increase in computing hardware since 1939.
Yeah, exactly that number.
And just assume that line goes up forever without hitting physical ceilings.
Yes.
Show you have considered the physical computing limits behind these magical-sounding anecdotes.
Because data centers are hitting thermodynamics walls. Energy consumption is a localized grid crisis in places like Ireland right now.
Yeah, you have to look at the trapdoor. And I think that lack of mechanical grounding actually connects directly to how the material handles the physical world.
It really does. It moves from digital agents right into human biology.
Right, which brings us to our next area. The transition from computational exponential growth to biological transformation conflates the speed of software development with the realities of clinical biology.
This is probably the biggest epistemological gap in the entire argument.
Yeah, the weakness is that the draft projects the straight-line exponential growth of computing hardware directly onto biological systems.
Right. It assumes that simulating millions of humans in a computer will just seamlessly bypass physical human trials and lead to this longevity escape velocity by 2032.
Which largely ignores the friction of physical trials, regulatory hurdles, and, whole-body biological complexity.
Really leaves a massive gap. So the suggestion here is to restructure this section to clearly delineate between computational speed, the software, and physical biological application.
The wetware.
Exactly, the wetware, and use the scientific community's skepticism as a structural counterweight rather than just treating it as an afterthought.
Because I mean, can biological hardware even accept these exponential software updates at the rate the material suggests? Or is the human body fundamentally bound by a linear timeline?
It's bound by physical reality. I mean, let's give the author a concrete example to work. When the material claims we can simulate 1 million humans and bypass a 10-month trial in just days.
Which sounds amazing in theory.
Right, but immediately introduce the scientific community's caution regarding cellular reprogramming. Use the specific example from the text about the eye cell experiments for glaucoma.
All right, the Yamanaka factors. Incredible science.
Truly incredible. But illustrate that while AI can instantly identify a target protein, proving that an intervention actually reverses aging in a complex biological system safely over time, without causing a tumor, for instance, requires physical time.
Right. A digital simulation cannot entirely replace that. Human biology is essentially legacy code, right?
That is a perfect way to describe it. Legacy spaghetti code.
Yeah. Millions of years of trial and error. You can't just force install a massive modern OS update onto an ancient mainframe and expect nothing to break.
Exactly. If you want to know what a reprogrammed cell does after 5 years in a human body, you literally have to wait 5 years.
You have to let the cells divide.
Yes, you have to observe the epigenetic markers over physical time. You cannot fast-forward physical reality. And the author needs to show the reader they understand why a digital twin isn't a replacement for a physical phase 3 trial.
Because if they don't, it just feels like they're wearing rose-colored glasses, right?
Completely.
Which naturally transitions us from the biological hurdles of living longer to the socioeconomic friction of distributing these breaks.
Yeah, building on that idea of friction in the physical world.
Exact. The exploration of AGI's societal impact glosses over the friction of resource distribution, presenting an overly frictionless utopian view of the future.
The utopian assumptions just continue right into the economic models. The weakness here is that the material casually accepts that tremendous AI-generated wealth and a universal basic income, or UBI, will smoothly offset massive job displacement.
And within a tight 36-month window, which is incredibly fast.
It's basically overnight in societal terms. And by comparing this future transition to the establishment of Social Security in the 1930s, the draft fails to address how this wealth is distributed.
Especially given the inherently high costs and accessibility issues of bespoke biological treatments in nanorobotics that they just mentioned in the scientific context.
Exactly. So the suggestion for the author is to deepen the societal analysis by directly connecting the exorbitant potential cost of these medical breakthroughs with the proposed baseline of UBI.
Right. Really questioning the equity and the realistic rollout of this future.
Yes. As a concrete example, rather than just stating society will be wealthier overall, analyze the tension between a basic survival income and the astronomical cost of cellular reprogramming.
Because the text mentions an 80-pill-a-day regimen, right?
Yes.
And an external artificial pancreas.
Yes. Those things are not cheap to manufacture or maintain. So ask the hard question in the text. Will longevity escape velocity initially only be available to the socioeconomic elite who own the AI?
Creating what is essentially a permanent biological upper class.
Exactly.
I mean, we talk about the digital divide today, but is the material confusing the existence of a cure with the accessibility of a cure? That's a biological divide.
That's a great term for it. And they need to challenge the assumption that government intervention, which is currently burdened by massive national debt, will be agile enough to democratize these tools instantly.
Right, because Social Security didn't roll out smoothly either. It was a massive political fight.
It was. Now, a counterargument you often hear in exponential tech forecasting is that AI will optimize supply chains so much that nanorobots will become as cheap as aspirin.
Sure, you could argue that, but the author actually has to make that argument on the page. Right now, it's just assumed that it's frictionless.
Exactly. Even if the intellectual prop recipe for the cure is virtually free, physical ingredients, the sterile manufacturing facility, the specialized medical personnel to administer it, they are not free.
You still have to mine the raw materials. You still have to build the physical nanobot. We are back to the friction of atoms.
Yes! The friction of reality. Imagine a world where the top 0.1% literally stops aging in 2032, while the rest of the population is waiting on a UBI check just to buy groceries.
That isn't a seamless utopian transition. That sounds like the recipe for massive societal upheaval.
Which is why the author needs to tackle this head-on. Injecting that socioeconomic realism is what will make the utopian possibilities in the text feel earned rather than just assumed.
So to recap the three main structural pivots we've discussed today. First, tightening the analytical rigor around those spectacular anecdotes.
Right. Explain the APIs, the reward functions, the hardware limitations. Don't treat software like magic.
Second, clearly separating the timelines of computational simulation from physical biological reality.
Acknowledge that wetware requires physical time to test and use the scientific skepticism regarding cellular reprogramming as a core structural element rather than a side note.
And finally, deeply probing the socioeconomic friction of UBI and longevity access.
Yes, directly question the economic accessibility of a biologically enhanced future, contrasting the utopian vision with the reality of supply chains and sluggish governments.
We really want to remind the listener to anchor their awe in technical realities. Keep digging into the how, and the writing will only get stronger.
The foundational knowledge is clearly there. It just needs to be anchored to the ground.
Absolutely. So we warmly invite the listener to revise their work using these lenses and submit the next iteration back to the critique for further exploration. We'd love to see it.